Everyone, welcome back to another great episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Today we're going to be making a cookie, a shortbread cookie, which was known as HB cookies. This recipe, somebody had a factory that used to make it in Mombasa, which is in Kenya. And if you're from anywhere from East Africa and if you've had those, I've had a lot of requests to make these cookies. I finally got the hold of a recipe from Masuma Muslim Remtulla, which is my aunt, which has also given the recipe for the pita bread that I have on YouTube, which turns out amazing. So if you want to check out the pita bread recipe, you can. I'll put up a link up here. But so it's a very simple recipe, but it's absolutely delicious. They are just melt in your mouth. And so I'm gonna tell you what the original recipe said, if there was any ingredients that I am kind of changing up. But other than that, we're gonna follow the recipe as it is. I've got my oven preheating at 350 degrees. We're gonna bake these at 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Then we're just gonna shut off our oven and just gonna leave them in there until the oven cools down. And you wanna do that because these cookies are supposed to be crispy, but yet melt in your mouth. So I made this recipe 4 times in order to make sure that the recipe comes to you completely foolproof. So let's get started. Let me show you the ingredients we're gonna need. So here I have 2 cups or 8 sticks of unsalted butter. I don't use salted butter in anything. We will be adding a pinch of salt, but in my sweet dishes, I don't like adding salted butter. So this is unsalted butter. We just can control the salt that way. And then here I have 1.5 cups of powdered sugar. This is completely powdered, you can see, all right? And then we're gonna add 4 cups of white flour, 1 egg. The recipe says 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and I honestly found 2 teaspoons way too much. I could taste the baking powder in it, so I kind of took it down to adding 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So that's the change that I did in the recipe. The cookies also are somehow colored yellow, and I don't know why, but so we will be adding a pinch of yellow color in there. And then we have our vanilla. Now the recipe again did not have any vanilla in there. When I made it, it just didn't have a taste. It just didn't have that taste. So I went ahead and added a teaspoon of vanilla into the recipe. So that's about it. And so let's get started. So I've got my butter in our bowl. We're gonna add the powdered sugar in there, and then we're gonna cream it until it's nice and creamy and fluffy. So I have our mixture creamed, and then I also wanted to let you know that the recipe called for 2 cups of powdered sugar, but when I make them at home, I add 1.5 cup. That's just enough sweetness for me. But the way you want to do is you just want to give this mixture a try. If you feel like it's not sweet enough, then add the extra 1/2 cup, totaling 2 cups of powdered sugar. So now we're going to start adding our egg, our food coloring. We're going to mix it once, and then we're going to start putting our flour in. Egg or Indu. Yellow food coloring, vanilla, mix. Flour or lot, baking powder, salt or namak. Mix. So I'm just gonna start now mixing everything by hand. You want to use your hand by mixing the flour and the butter mixture so that you don't get too much gluten that's built in it, so they'll become really nice and soft. They won't become very hard. See, if you use the machine, you might overbeat these cookies and then they're gonna become tough. So I'm just gonna finish completely mixing all this up, and we're gonna make our rounds, and then I'll show you the signature mark that these cookies have on them. It looks like this. It shouldn't be very sticky. And then what you want to do is you want to start making the cookies. So I have a tray here, and I'll let you know how much I came out. I think usually these make about 70 cookies. So you just want to make cookies like this. Start putting them on the tray. And these are not gonna spread a whole lot, so you can put them at about 1 inch. Okay. Now the signature of these cookies are just marking it with a fork, just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead, finish all these up. When we come back, I'll tell you how long they took to bake, and I'll show you the final product. So I got these out of the oven, and in fact I got them out of the oven right now, which is 5 hours after the first initial 30 minutes were done. So I turned the oven off. They're pretty warm. They've just been sitting in the oven and resting, and they've become really nice and crispy. So if I break into one, I don't know if you heard that, but give it a quick taste test here. These are super delicious. I'm not kidding you. They're soft in the inside, crispy on the outside, and they're absolutely delicious. So make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet, so you can get a notification of every video that is uploaded. I upload at least one video per week, every week. And so thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Raihana's Cuisines. Hope you can join me here next time with another great video. See you then, friends.